Hello world, I'm Jake.
I'm Hannah. Hello.
And we have more of the Rubin to do. More Rubin. More know
I
what? And this one's a little antiquated. I miss this debate. We're talking about
I,
human rights and stuff, and now we can get back to this.
can we just do this chapter in perpetuity?
Yeah,
We're
forever.
like we're a 30-year-old who is embarrassed, so they're 29 every birthday for like 5 years because the next
Is
chapter
that a
is
thing?
trans issues, and I read some of it, and I don't want to do it.
Oh, come on! I didn't know that was happening next. All right, so I guess cliffhanger for that. We'll rub that one out too, real quick.
We'll rub that one out too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, right on top. Yeah, this is this is gun control, which is easy to talk about. This doesn't get me fired up at all at this point because there's so many other I can't believe children being murdered with a gun has been buried under like a dozen other things I need to care about. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Like literal children, like babies. I don't like them. I don't like babies. Okay, but when you shoot them, I have to take umbrage. When you shoot them with a gun, wow! I just whistled twice out of my weird. I have like an old timey tooth or something. You hear that? Did you hear it?
You have
Oh,
a tooth that's just an old timey prospector.
yeah.
Now he
The
lives in your
tooth is
mouth.
the prospector.
Yeah.
You're up there, Mister Pocket. Anyway, so I do we have to like recap? This is like so.
I want to
Yeah.
talk about my stance on guns because it's evolved so much over the course of the 8 years that we've been doing the show that I think it's fair to
Yeah.
just like, okay,
Sure.
I used to be, when the show started, entirely against the ownership of guns altogether.
I was
As
never
I've
that.
gotten
I was never
older-
that far.
Sure. I think part of that was a reaction to how, like, pro-gun and conservative my
Probably.
dad was. So I was just, like, doing opposite him, and as I've gotten older, my opinions have evolved to be that of a human being and not just, like, an angry blob that does the opposite of what their parents do.
Or predecessors.
But
Okay.
Sure. So, I'm fine with gun ownership as long as it's like a gun that can be used for hunting reasonably or like home protection.
Yeah.
But like, I'm also fine with reasonable restrictions on things like really big magazines that let you shoot off a ton of rounds in quick succession, which isn't something you should need for hunting if you're a good hunter, or even like home defense
Not even
if
a-
you're like not shit at it.
Not
Like
even-
again, if you have like a handgun, which at longer ranges anyway is gonna be, or even medium range is gonna, there's gonna be some accuracy issues or whatever. Fine, I understand, like a semi-automatic pistol, but when we start talking about like semi-automatic rifles that you just fire as quick as you can like pull the trigger, and then people can
Yeah.
also, which is why like bump stock like things are it's fine to ban those because it lets people shoot those things quicker. It's not a machine gun, but you can as quick as you can like click the thing, as quick as you can pull the trigger, you can shoot people.
Click
and
the thing. Hell
click
yeah.
the thing. I'm very versed on this.
So I grew up with guns. So
Yeah.
we have different. You can finish. Go ahead. It's
was
funny
just
that you said
gonna say-
click the thing.
And it's like when I talk about sports. And even,
True.
I've talked about this on stream before. Being a trans individual, I have a higher chance of being murdered or
Yeah.
assaulted. So I've even talked about on stream, potentially getting like a small firearm for protection for myself. It's not something I'm definitely going to do, but I just want to go into
Ooh,
this
one of
chapter
those
with
sexy
people-
little silver ones you can put in a clasp.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Okay,
hello,
one that I
Mr.
can-
Bond.
It'll be a garter gun, one you can put in like a garter.
There
I
you
don't know
go.
what situation I would have a garter on in, but
Well, all of them because you're very confident. In this
Anyway.
in this scenario, you're a femme fatale,
I guess so.
a vixen of death.
My point is, going into this chapter, know that I'm not like,
Yeah.
ban all the guns.
Yeah.
That's not my position.
Yeah, my position is I also think there's utility in sport and like recreation with guns and stuff like that. We live in Michigan. It's a big part of culture is like hunting and I grew up with that and so like not only do you not need an AR-15 to hunt, it's not part of like how hunting is done. Hunting is like respect for nature and sort of like being out there and like and like, you know, you don't waste any part of the animal kind of bullshit. But like you're not punching holes in these fuckers. It's one shot and you kill it, and it's supposed to be as humane as possible. Not like it's not ridiculous. So I understand if you're in a scenario where there's 30 to 50 hogs. You could need an AR-15, but did you know how many times that's happened? 0 of the times that's never happened. So I'm fine if you're like a rancher and you need like coyote protection. Fucking get your coyote gun. I don't know, but like for most people, no magazines. Magazines are bad. A cylinder fed handgun. Not because most gun violence is magazine fed pistols. Not a fan of that, because you can just go bah, 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 bah. And when you have, you know, even a high caliber revolver is around 6 rounds. So I'd cap it around 6. Pump action shotguns, another thing. Great for home defense. Great for turkeys. Great for sport. You do a lot of stuff with that. I've had gun licenses. I had a hunting permit. Turns out I'm a wicked shot, okay? Actually, I'm probably trash now. I haven't done it in like 15 years. But, you know, that's fine. Then a bolt-action rifle. None of these are, you know, without their utility, all of which are perfect for several different reasons. And you can get, you know, run the gamut of all of these things. And very few of them are capable of killing a ton of people en masse. Now, of course, they always say, like, the criminals are going to get the gun. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But did you know that if we start a culture and lack of manufacturing of a lot of these weapons that people are using in these illegal situations, that helps. And then also if you know, it's weird because Republicans have this like, oh, we're gonna protect the border. Okay, so protect the border then. Protect the border and stop guns from coming in if you're worried about it. Well, criminals will do it anyway. Okay, so why protect the border? So that's a big thing. So, yeah, that's where I come from. I'm fine if you have a gun, and also, you know, I mean, there are situations where American citizens might have to protect themselves against tyranny. You know what I'm saying? You know, in small pockets, like I don't know, like a cop maybe coming after you in Kenosha. But other than that, like, you're not gonna fucking overthrow the government. So like, why do we need these big boys?
That's what upsets me about the tyranny argument. First of all, before we get into the tyranny thing, because I do have stuff to say about it, I just want to point out the opening line of this chapter, which makes me want to exercise my Second Amendment rights into my own face. It says, quote, "Believe it or not, the Founding Fathers were being classically liberal when they penned the U.S. Constitution back in 1789, even though they were evil white men who shaped the country to their own vision, boo, hiss, etc."
I mean,
the implication that the problem people have with the Founding Fathers is that they were white men, and not the fact that they were, like, slave owners who happened to write the Constitution and talked about, like, liberty and justice for all. If you're white and you're a man,
and you own a bunch of fucking land, so
we can write a song.
We did it. No, that was the whole thing.
Hamilton. It'll be good.
It's already a thing. It's called Hamilton. So we've co-opted it. It's like, oh, that's for us. No, it's not. Yeah. He also writes about like I don't know, just the Founding Fathers in general. This dude is pro Second Amendment, but very anti First Amendment. Even though he says he's for free speech and stuff. Like you do realize that like there are people right now saying that the government is not equitable, and it's come to a point where like they're not being governed properly. In fact, in the Declaration of Independence, it says specifically, governments are instituted among men. White landowning men, of course, but that has since changed. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. Like, how can you be against the majority of people trying to alter the way they are governed out loud, and also suck the dick of the people that wrote that part without realizing that you're not doing the thing?
Because the founding principles that are Enlightenment values are only useful to them in as far as they can use it to pursue their own ends. It's not about them actually caring about the values themselves. Unlike, I think, a lot of people on the left who really, really value the ideas of like freedom and justice and caring that like we should all have the same rights and be treated the same way by the government in terms of, you know, not being
in fact,
mistreated.
I'd say people on the left want a smaller government than people on the right, almost unanimously.
I think,
like as far as their fingerprints on your day to day.
I was gonna say, I think it depends on what you mean by big or small. The entire like idea of there's either a big government or a small government is really backward and a really old idea that doesn't hold up. It just depends upon which part of the governments you feel should be focused on, right? Like I feel like people on the left want a smaller government in regard to like going into people's houses and being like,
that's exactly what I mean.
You can't be gay, you can't be trans, you can't smoke that drug, you can't do whatever.
Exactly.
Whereas people on the right just don't want the government to like
have taxes,
provide social services.
Well, like
make roads.
For the record, like there's a reason that Washington looks the way it does. Like it was built on a swamp, and it looks very Greco-Roman, one might say. Not one might say, it literally is. They literally stole the architecture because they so valued the ideas of like Athenian original democracy and then the sort of Roman style government. The idea behind Roman government is that the government provides amenities. That's like the core function of government, besides like establishing a power construct to hold Roman power. But like it literally like an emperor was judged based on the number of amenities that it gave to the people during their run. So, like Nero or something, like with the Colosseums or bathhouses were huge, and like vast aqueducts to bring people free water. Like this was a huge aspect of it, and it's not like the Enlightenment. These people knew about that. Like when they wrote this, they understood that the government's job was to provide security, yes, right? Also security from the government. You want distance from the government for the people as well. But the government's job is to be like, well, here's the stuff. Now and dole it out and make sure the people underneath could self-govern roughly. I mean, honestly, if you look at Thomas Jefferson, he was as close to an anarchist as you could get. He was very during that time. He was very like, I want people to be able to like live on 40 acres and be agrarian and have kids and slaves.
Here's the right.
And slaves. And also just live like apart from the government, and the government's there if they need it. This is far from what Dave Rubin believes.
It's far from what everyone believes. You're going to be hard pressed to find someone who's as agrarian.
Oh no! I'm just saying like insofar as like anarchism is concerned, like he was basically like, at your house you have hierarchies, but everywhere else they stay pretty far back. I mean, there's obviously tons of differences between an anarchist and Thomas Jefferson, but like, I'm just saying like, it's just funny that they fake idolize these people without knowing what they wrote.
Yeah. In terms of Second Amendment protecting against tyranny, this argument bothers me on multiple fronts. First of all, right-wingers do not give a shit when it's like a Republican government promoting tyranny and not like hurting people. Yeah. The most recent time Republicans have tried to fight back against a oppressive government.
Do you mean right-wingers?
Yes. Was Gretchen Whitmer almost being kidnapped by a bunch of right-wing terrorists because they don't like that she makes them stay inside and wear masks during a pandemic. They're a bunch of psychos, right? That aside, the fact that the right are huge hypocrites and don't actually give a shit about tyranny unless it actually affects them personally, and their bar for tyranny for themselves is incredibly low. Where it's like, it's insurmountable when it's other groups of people. But then we have the fact that, okay, we already decide that there are certain arms that the government has that you're not allowed to have as a private citizen. Yeah. Even if you're Jeff Bezos, you cannot go buy an active tank that is like armed and ready to go, and the munitions for it. You cannot buy a fighter jet that can drop bombs. You cannot hire scientists to build you a nuclear weapon. And Jeff Bezos has the money. He could do it. My point is, there are already restrictions in place on what you can own as a private citizen. Bombs being a good example. Bombs are an arm. Bombs are an arm that you could use and would need to use if you were trying to actively sabotage the federal government for some reason. But you're not allowed to have them, right? That's a thing. So the same thing applies to guns. Guns are another kind of arm, and it's fine to have some guns. I agree. It's fine for people to own some guns. All we're talking about, you've already lost the argument on whether or not certain arms should be restricted. You lost. It's over. It's been over forever. All we're doing is talking about where that line is. And you put the line way further than it should be because you get some weird freedom boner about the idea that you can go into the woods with a gun and just Rambo and go, America! Meanwhile, there's someone doing the same thing in an elementary school, and you're like, that's fine. As long as I can do my thing, they can do their thing.
Jesus Christ.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I guess this is the part to get into, how it is restricted already, and how Dave thinks it's already incredibly hard to get a firearm. This is just for Michigan, but this is roughly the you have to still get, it's federally licensed anyway, so it's pretty much across the board. The only thing is Michigan may end up being more restrictive than any other state, but I can't believe it is because it's a huge part of the economy. So for people that want to get firearms, here's the list of things. Dave Rubin does a little bit of these. He does some of these. He doesn't go into it enough. And I think his little libertarian heart should read this more. You have to be 21 or older to purchase a pistol, or 18 or older to purchase a long gun. This is true unless you have a hunting license and you're a child. Your parent can buy one on your behalf. I had one at 14, like a shotgun, like an actual shotgun. I don't know about handguns, but that has since changed since I've grown up. But like you can child hunters are things with guns. This is not an atypical. It's just not issued in my name. So there's many ways to get around this. You can gift guns to people, of course. That would be necessarily uncool. But you can also private sell, and it's much like a let's call it like selling a car. If you have the title to the car, you can kind of just give it to somebody and pretend you went through the steps. Like it's not like super easy to just like traffic guns around, but like if you are, there's ways to get fucking guns. Okay,
irrespective of legality. Like look at
just ethically, yeah.
The kid who went to the protest thing and shot some people recently,
in Kenosha.
Like he was a minor, but those I think were his parents' guns.
This is his parents' guns. He was not actually. He didn't have a license. Like AR-15s aren't hunting license guns. He just grabbed the gun. It wasn't properly handled. In fact, I think they gave it to him on purpose. But
sure. And even if they didn't, if you were a kid in a house with a gun and you were 16 years old,
100%.
you're gonna know where the key is. You're gonna be able to find it. Yep. There's no amount of security that you can put in place outside of maybe literally having a large gun safe that has a combination that you tell no one to. The kid will have access to the gun.
100%. I knew where all the guns were in my house as well. In fact, my dad told me where the guns were in case of an emergency, right? Because he was a Republican. And he was like, they're coming for us. No, they're not. We live in the woods. You have to be a resident of the state wherever you're getting the gun. Unless it's a show, you can go there. And you have to be eligible to own a firearm, which includes filling out Form 4473. So I'm going to look at Form 4473 real quick. Not a lot of people that are lefties tend to have gone through this process, although if you're interested, you should. If you're a member of the LGBT community, especially the T part, you should consider this. It is, again, we're both proponents for self-protection. I'm fine with this. I don't care if you own a gun. What I want you to do is make sure that you own it responsibly. Here's the thing. So you need the normal information that you would have to give anyone at a Secretary of State for any kind of official license. Your name, your social security number, date of birth, all this stuff. This actually goes to the FBI and they do a background check. But here's what they check for though. See the place of birth, all the normal stuff. They ask your ethnicity. Here's the ethnicities: Hispanic or Latino. Not Hispanic or Latino. Those are the ethnicities that they have to check off. I wonder why. Seems a little iffy, don't you think? Seems a little iffy. Race. All the races that are normally put on census: American Indian or Alaskan. It's interesting they still do American Indian or Alaska Native, Black or African American, White, Asian, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander. Country of citizenship. If you are an alien, record your U.S. issued alien or admission number. Can we change the language on that now? Is it to the point where we can hey, have you immigrated to the country? No, I don't know. That's my little SJW brain going off. I'm not really offended. It just seems like old timey, I guess. Then there's some questions or something about transferring. But this is the interesting stuff. Are you under indictment or information in any court for a felony? So, felony stuff, you can't have a gun. It's interesting. They want to strip rights away from people that are given felonies. So this has a long history that people probably don't understand. Did you know the reason that we have felonies has to do with the amendment, I believe, let's say it's the 13th, where you can imprison people and use their labor, because we stopped doing the slavery, and so we restarted slavery with prisons.
There's a documentary on this. I think it's called The 13th.
Yeah. And so if you're ever wondering why felons don't get to vote and they don't get to have guns, and also, so keep that in mind over here. And then keep in mind how we police black communities and how often we force minimum sentencing in felony cases in drug-related charges and stuff like that. And we enforce that on the black communities. How many people that are black can't defend themselves from a tyrannical government, according to the Second Amendment, or protect themselves or whatever, just don't have access to guns, and can't vote? They're entirely disenfranchised because of the color of their skin, the way that we police, and the crimes that we police. So consider how racist and baked into the system that is. That's for you wokies out there, okay? Really bake the noodle on that. I still have more, but go ahead.
I know, I just wanted to...
No, absolutely.
Quick. In case right-wingers are like, oh, you liberals, you're making connections where there are none.
No, that's...
Remember when in California, when Ronald Reagan was the governor, black people started arming themselves at higher rates, and then all of a sudden Ronald Reagan started, making, signing off on tons of, gun control measures that would restrict firearm use in California? Nerd! Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Bloods and the Crips exist specifically to protect black communities from police, and then that got out of control with the drug stuff. But the Black Panthers, for instance, are some of the first people to institute school lunches. There's lots of things that we bury because of Black Panthers and stuff.
There was a story I read where I think it was in Chicago. There was a branch of the Black Panthers, or it was a group similar, and they were providing breakfast for kids.
Yeah.
And the police broke in and peed all over the lunches or the breakfasts or whatever it was.
Yeah, they've done this millions of times all over the country. Oh, millions, probably thousands of times all over the country, not just for Black Panthers, but for anything. You'll see, very famously, Border Patrol. They'll find caches of water and they'll just dump the water out.
Yeah.
And it's why not stay there and wait for the illegal alien people that you're so scared of to show up? Let them drink their water? Why is their humanity the thing that we attack and not, they're breaking... The thing they seem to care about is they're breaking the law. Really? If it wasn't this vitriolic, race hate, thing, why would you dump the water out? What's the water done? And what are those people done to not deserve a drink? You know what I mean? Tried to come to a better place that you agree is better, but they can't afford to go through the channel. It's interesting. Anyway... So we'll continue on. So there's the felony part, which again, I mean, if you're a libertarian, Dave, or a classical liberal, you should hate that part. You should absolutely hate that part. However, I'd say if it's a violent felony, I'm fine with that, right? personally. But this includes like drug stuff. But mostly it targets the black community and Hispanic community. The next one is, have you ever been convicted of one? Are you a fugitive from justice is a question. Don't go, if you're a fugitive from justice, don't apply for a legal gun. Don't do it. I don't know why you would do that. And then mark yes on it and then get the FBI to background check you. Strange. This one actually got me good. Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to the first thing they mention? What do you think the first substance they mention is?
The fact that you're asking makes me think it's marijuana.
It is marijuana. If you smoke the doobies, you don't get a gun. Yeah, so going back to B and C, where they ask about felonies and drug charges and stuff, what did I tell you? It targets specifically black and Hispanic communities on purpose.
When I light up the first, that's a weird thing.
When I light up, I use a vape pen too. But I've recently just split an ounce with our friend Alex. Sure. I have so much weed.
I actually haven't, and we can talk about this because it's legal in Michigan now recreationally. Yeah. And I had a medical card before anyway. I actually haven't partaken in the weed in like 5 months.
I did yesterday, all day.
Anyway,
huge stoner yesterday. It was great.
But like, never when I've ever gotten high have been like, you know what it's time to do?
Time to shoot up a school.
Yeah.
Time to rob a bank. No one cares. Like, again, or any depressant, stimulant, any stimulant, any narcotic drug, or any controlled substance.
If we're talking any depressant, that includes alcohol and like
unlawful user.
Okay. I was gonna say, because I think like 70% of the adults in Michigan are functional alcoholics.
Well, check this out. Here's a warning. The use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside.
Yeah.
So, still fuck you if you smoke weed. You can't have a gun. So just mark no on that. They're not dark drug testing you. Have you ever been adjudicated as a...
find that in the background check, though. I actually know this because I know when I signed up for my medical card, I don't have an active...
Oh, if you have a medical card, maybe, yeah.
But like when I had a medical card, when they give it to you, they have to be like, just so you know, you cannot own a gun now. Okay, fine. I don't know how that works.
You don't need a card for recreational. But the medical weed is better. Not that I would know. That'd be illegal. Have you ever adjudicated as... Here's the one. Have you ever been adjudicated as a mental defective? Or have you been committed to a mental institution? So, the only... This is the big one. And all the other stuff is like systemic racism and stuff that was baked in the system. This one is the linchpin about the argument about being able to own guns for most people on the left right now. It's people that are mentally unwell given guns, right? But this isn't a normal mental health thing. You have to be called a mental defective, literally a mental defective, or have been committed to a mental institution. That's the bar. I think maybe if you have like PTSD, like, did you know you got PTSD and come under this bar, right? Like, you can have severe emotional distress. And I'm not saying everyone with PTSD doesn't deserve it. I'm saying you need to be fucking screened by mental health professionals. Like, there's people like you have depression and anxiety, but there's a lot of people that it manifests entirely differently than how yours manifests. I don't feel like you're a danger to me with a gun. I feel like at your lowest, you're a danger to you with a gun. Also
people with bipolar who might have rapid, extreme mood swings,
100%,
and might make irrational decisions,
right? Yeah. And so it's just a barrier. And this is the thing, Dave. And I won't read the rest of this. You can read the rest of this if you want. It's very easy to find. Just look for firearms transaction record. It's form 4473 if you're interested. It is imperative, I think, this is the only thing I want on the books for gun control, really, that I can think of, is when you go get a gun, okay, you need to have, and this would include, universal health care, though, because I don't think anyone else would be able to get it, right? Because it would be too Because I don't want to price out poor people. I don't want to make this a class thing. You know what I'm saying? And the only way you don't price out poor people is to have mental health care as an institution across the board available to everybody. You should be screened by a mental health expert, like someone, and like your actual like your standard physician gives you like a recommendation, like, okay, go to this person, and let's have a talk or whatever, and then just be screened, and that way you can also know going into it if maybe you were having the reason you wanted a gun is to hurt yourself or somebody else. What's the worst thing that could happen out of going to the mental health person? Is getting help for that shit. That's what we want. I don't want Dylan Roof to be mad and shoot people up. Well, I want him to get help.
Yeah.
I want him to be okay. I don't want to be the monster that he turns into. And part of the reason that these monsters exist is because we as a people, specifically the Republican side of the government, we don't give a shit about people, especially like veterans. Like, why? Why are we throwing these people under the bus like that when we could literally help? And you can have your guns. And in fact, if you have a mentally healthy society and you show that you can have guns and be safe with them relatively, you end up getting more guns later. Like, what? Why not just take a step back for a second to get more guns in the future? Because I'm fine with, like, if you guys can have fucking those big machine guns. I'm imagining the belt of like I would. It'd be a 2-person job. So you get to hold the gun, and I feed you the belt of bullets, and you get to clamp it down and do that thing before the baddies arrive, and you can shoot the bad guys because we're in a bunker together.
Okay.
This is my military fantasy now. Okay. if we can do that safely as a society, I don't fucking care if you have those, but we can't.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
How cool would it be, though, if you got to do that? Remember that scene in Predator where he has that minigun and he shoots the forest down?
Yeah.
Think about, if you're having a bad day, how cathartic that would feel for you, okay? Imagine Hannah just shooting all the squirrels in her backyard. That was Jesse Ventura, by the way.
That's Jesse the Mind. Actually, no. At the time, that was Jesse the Body Ventura.
The Body! True. I'm sorry.
Then he became Jesse the Mind Ventura.
Really? Because he got old?
Because he became a politician. He was elected governor somewhere, or
Minnesota, yeah.
And then I think
was it Montana? I don't remember.
Something else now. Let me see.
I'm so glad that your Jesse the Body Ventura lore runs at least medium depth here. Well, you gotta find it. You gotta find it soon. No?
Hold on, I'm finding
Jesse Ventura.
I only see Jesse the Mind and Jesse the Body. I'm
okay.
Sorry.
You don't think he changed it? Jesse the Gov Ventura?
Now I think he does it. He did a conspiracy show too.
Yeah,
so.
It's okay. Anyway, what's next on the Rubin? He writes some more dumb shit, but you know.
Yeah. What? I'm just gonna talk about 2 things real quick before we end.
Yeah.
That I wrote down. Okay. At the end of the chapter, he talks about 3 mass shooters. One of the Columbine shooters, Nicholas Cruz, and the Vegas shooter. And his link between these 3 is they were all on some sort of medication. One of the Columbine shooters was on Prozac. Nicholas Cruz was on some psychotropic drug that he doesn't clarify. And the Vegas shooter was on anti-anxiety meds. I don't know how to break this to you, Dave. I think most Americans at this point are on some sort of antidepressant or anti-anxiety thing. So using that as a scapegoat and not... Yeah. It's weird because it's almost like a proxy for mental health screenings, but he doesn't want that. He just wants to blame...
Well, he pays lip service to it.
It's very silly.
He says mental health service. He also mentioned Chicago before that. Are you going to mention that right now?
Oh, the Chicago thing?
Can we talk about Chicago real quick?
Whenever we talk about Chicago in terms of gun control, it always frustrates me because it's like gun control would only work if all the surrounding areas that are attainable by people within the city also carry the same gun control.
I feel like any child, like if you just said, okay, in the blue area, you can go get a gun or a lollipop, say a lollipop, okay? Mm-hmm. But you live in the red area, how would you go get a lollipop? Like, how would you go about it? And the kid would go be like, I'd go into blue and get one. So if a child can understand how to go get the thing they want, I feel like someone in Chicago could go, you know what I want? Not what's in here, but what is out there. I think I'll go there. But also, he mentions like, look at all these terrible things that Chicago does. Now, of course, without any systemic analysis whatsoever, which is normal with the Chicago thing. And then he shows statistics. He's like, Chicago's bad. And then it's almost worse. And then you look at New York. Someplace New York only has 2.3 homicides per 100,000 or something, like gun homicides. New York has one of the most restrictive gun bans in the country, including a ghost gun ban that happened in 2019, which means the making, selling, transporting, or possessing of 3D printed guns is banned. I'm just tossing this out there. Okay, you can't get bump stocks. You can't do automatic weapon. I'm just tossing it out there. There's a reason. Because New York City has a much better platform for all of this, and New York in general as a large state. It's hard to go to East Coast New York along with all the other East Coast places that agree we shouldn't have guns and also get guns and have low you get see what happens when a bunch of wide sweeping things happen over here in No Gunville. And then if you go to Chicago, you can go to Kenosha. You can literally walk there if you want. You could go to Wisconsin. Do you know how close Chicago is to, like, Hicksville? It's right there. Has anyone ever been... Have you been to Chicago before?
No.
It is not great. It is brownstones and big, tall buildings. And if you just keep going on the highway, about 10 minutes later, you could buy a gun.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're in Wisconsin. I'm pretty sure every corner has a Culver's and cheese curds just available. Cows are around. It's crazy. Anyway, so that really annoyed me. I hate the Chicago argument. Shut up.
The last line of this chapter frustrates me to no end because it includes Republicans' favorite tactic, which is to pretend that America is the only country on the planet. The last sentence is, the best we can do is arm ourselves with a realistic outlook, not take away our constitutional rights in the hopes of some unattainable dream.
The unattainable utopia. He constantly says utopia. Like, I don't think anyone on the left is like, yeah, utopia is where we're headed, bud. What we want is fucking ethics. And like a rough estimation of equity among people. Like, I don't want you not to have your gun. Who is he? He's arguing with, like, Hillary Clinton, who thinks it's popular to want to ban all guns. It's not. Not everybody wants to ban all guns. In fact, gun popularity is definitely rising as Donald Trump's presidency gets deeper. People are like, well, just saying. So... I don't really understand. Like, it's always a straw man. Like, it's not like the actual people that you're not arguing with liberals, Dave. You're arguing with leftists. I like to say lefty. It's better, but for branding, it's less intimidating to a normie. I had a big debate about that recently. We have to reach the normies. We can't be like, what do you think of when you think of anarchists? Mad Max.
Yeah.
Fucking Molotovs. They don't like that shit. It's not what it is, but it's not that. So we gotta stop using that kind of shit. Just be like, we're cute little lefties. We just want healthcare. Just start out slowly. You know what I mean? Trickle up politics. It'll work. You have any final thoughts here?
Dave Rubin is a disingenuous cunt.
That wraps it up. So
next time.
Can you give me just okay? I haven't read it. I want like a little, just a tease, just okay. like a little off the top of the. This is Dave Rubin's chapter on the trans issues. So, oh man, you're doing the fingies. Okay, and you licked your lips a little bit. And you got the. Okay, all right. I know this is good then. Okay, all right.
Jake.
Yes.
Did you know?
No.
That in terms of comparisons to any concept in the universe,
okay,
my existence is closest to the existence of our Lord and Savior Optimus Prime. Dave Rubin compares being trans and wanting to transition to wanting to being a 6-year-old in the 80s and wanting to be an Autobot. But Dave Rubin can't be an Autobot, so...
Uh,
I think he just did a word association and he saw like trans and he's like, Transformers?
it's
Robots in
I think
disguise."
you've incepted this because now I want to be hit by a truck. I want
Autobots
to
wage
annihilate
their
it.
battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons.
The Decepticons are the sisses. Okay.
They all turn into guns and tanks and stuff.
Literally, one of Megatron's, like the original Megatron, it's just a gun
Turns into a big
because
gun.
they knew it was toys.
Yeah.
But who's that? He's just fucking. I'm a gun, and he just flops over and he just stays there because no one can hold him. Stupid.
I think
It floated. I think.
In exterior, I don't know if this happened in the show. I haven't really watched the show, but in like Transformers comics and stuff, they show that the reason, one of the reasons he decides to turn to a gun initially is because he like scrubs through American media or world media, and he goes, "This must be their god," and he turns into a gun.
That's fucking sad and accurate. Okay, well,
It all came full circle.
I'm very excited about the next one. We'll do them sooner. I had a weird week. My body did not want to sleep, and then it only wanted to sleep. I had a really weird week. I think I'm okay though. I don't know. It was like really weird. Like I felt like shitty the whole week. I don't know. And then the one day we could do it, you got busy because I'm dog shit. But that's okay. It's okay that I'm dog shit. All right.
Either way, if you want regular content, you can always find us on our Twitch channels at twitch.tv/actualjake and twitch.tv/Hannah Reloaded.
Tons of content over there. Look at this.
I do almost daily content.
Look at this.
Oh, you got a copy of... She commented on my video on her.
She commented on my video. So you did it? Did you do it after you saw it on mine?
I did it the day after.
Yeah.
I covered one of her other videos.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
If you need, you're not gonna. You guys are not gonna get to know what that is unless you go to the Twitch channels because it's just too. It needs multiple. It needs to percolate. This is not a video thing. I can't edit this. It has to happen organically, and you see it first time. So go to our Twitch channels. If you go to mine, the videos are up for that, and then so hit mine and then hit Hannah's because back to back you get Snorgling's Hollow lore. So I don't know what you covered because I was busy being incredibly degenerate and high. So.
I did a video where it was about systematic racism and affirmative action.
I'm gonna do the whole thing. I'm doing every single one of them in order. So I don't want to know too much. I'm actually gonna avoid your commentary because I want to come in with fresh eyes. So, but if you want to see what happens when we don't pay attention to each other, but encounter the same thing in the wild. Go to those Twitch channels. It's a lot of fun. Seriously. The communities over there, there's a lot of you in the comments that are from those communities, and they're beautiful communities, and I love them, and they're positive, and it's so much more enjoyable than YouTube as far as, like, being able to interact with fans and shit. So seriously, if you want to, like, interact with us, follow us over there. It's totally free. You don't have to subscribe or anything. It's just follow. Just have a good time. Seriously.
There are also probably going to be links to our YouTube channels where we put clips and stuff.
Indeed.
We have separate YouTube channels for our separate Twitch channels. Maybe they're on the screen right now if we're in the last 20 seconds of the video, which we should be.
Indubitably.
For this bit to work.
Was it a bit? We were just saying words out loud.
I just mean, for me saying this.
Now it's a bit. It's a bit when we say out loud, this is a bit.
Like I'm looking around, like I can see them, but in reality,
we're running out of time.
Oh God, I'm getting electrolysis.